This is a French animated movie and it's a pretty unique experience. Mainly because it drops you in the middle of it all and doesn't explain much. And for the first 15 minutes or so I had no clue what was going on. And part of that had to do with the way this is structured and how the narrative works, because let's just put it this way. This is a very strange and unusual movie in more than one way. It's also extremely difficult to explain without getting into the details. But I'm gonna try. So the narrative is essentially split into two parts. In one we follow this young man who meets this young woman. And in the other we follow the journey of a severed hand. Yeah, we follow the exploits of a hand that runs around the city. And these two storylines appear to be intertwined, but at the same time, it's not exactly clear how they relate to each other and what's going on with the hand. It's not really explained. At least not early on. It does start to make a lot more sense later though. But in the beginning it certainly came across as a very strange idea. And while I did like the unique approach, and I actually liked the parts with the hand too, I thought those were really well handled, no pun intended, and oddly fascinating as well. But I'm still not entirely sure what exactly the purpose of it was from a story perspective. And I also assume you weren't supposed to take it literally either. But on the other hand, again, no pun intended, it did seem pretty literal, so I don't know. That part was a little bit confusing to me, but at the same time I liked it, so make what you will of that. And then we get to the sort of love story-ish thing with the young woman and the young man, which I also liked, but with that one I think the ending kinda went over my head a little bit. I mean, I did like it and I did find it to be rather satisfying in a weird way. But on the other hand, it did feel a bit vague, I guess, and I'm not entirely sure what the point was. I mean, I have some ideas, and I guess it could just be left up for interpretation. Which is fine, but I'm just someone who generally likes more concrete endings to my stories. But I mean, this whole movie is a little bit vague and has these fantasy elements to it anyway. So I guess I shouldn't be too harsh on it for that. It's pretty much an artistic choice. And one that does work at least to some degree, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite approach to storytelling. But yeah, at the end of the day I did like this, and I did find it to be rather moving too. Because it does have quite a few emotionally charged elements to it as well. And in general I did find it to be surprisingly effective in that regard. I also really liked the art style, although, and this is stupid, but I didn't like the way they drew the faces of the characters. Something about that just didn't work for me. But other than that, I didn't really have any issues with the filmmaking in this. I thought it was a really well made and unique movie, and I definitely haven't seen one quite like this before. However, would I recommend it? Sure, why not? Especially if you're in the mood for something a little bit different. But if you prefer very literal, conventional, straightforward movies, you can probably skip this one. Or don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.